Think winter today is tough? You soft modern human. Let's travel back thousands of years. Winter back then was a brutal, non-stop boss fight. First stop, the Ice Age. How did early humans not freeze to death? Easy. They wore the local wildlife. Literally. Neanderthals stitched together heavy furs using bone needles. DIY fashion at its finest. No central heating? No problem. They built tents out of mammoth bones. Imagine sleeping inside a giant rib cage just to stay warm. Cozy, right? But what about food? The supermarkets were closed. Forever. So they became masters of the ultimate winter hobby. Food preservation. If you lived near the coast, you dried your fish until it was hard as a rock. Or you buried meat in frozen ground. Nature's own freezer. Fast forward to ancient Rome. Did they complain about the snow? Nah. The rich Romans just used their literal underfloor heating, called a hypocaust. Slaves had to constantly burn wood underneath the house. Continuous heat for the rich. But what if you were a poor Roman? Well, you just piled on 10 wool tunics. And what about winter fun? Romans had Saturnalia. This was a wild week of partying where all social rules were completely flipped. Masters served food to their slaves, and gambling was totally legal. They basically spent December drinking wine and shouting, "Eo Saturnalia." Now let's head north to the Vikings. Winter there was no joke. When the seas froze, raiding season was officially over. Time to go home. So what did Vikings do trapped indoors for months? They drank mead. A lot of it. They gathered in massive longhouses around a central fire pit to stay alive. And they told crazy stories about Thor, Odin, and giant ice monsters. But they didn't just sit around. They invented winter sports. Vikings loved skiing. They even had a god of skiing named Or. They also made ice skates out of horse or cow bones tied to their shoes. Imagine skating on frozen lakes on literal leg bones. Super metal. Moving on to ancient China. Winter was all about the concept of yin and yang. Winter was yin, dark, cold, and passive. Time to conserve your energy. People slept on kang bed stoves, brick platforms heated by a fireplace. They also ate hot pot filled with ginger and garlic to boost their internal heat. Spicy food was basically their version of turning up the thermostat. What about the Middle Ages? If you were a peasant, winter was a waiting game. No farming could be done on rock-hard, frozen soil. So peasants brought their farm animals inside their tiny huts. Yes, you shared your bedroom with a smelly cow and 3 pigs. Why? Because animal body heat was free heating. Gross, but effective. And since water was often contaminated or frozen, they drank ale. All day. Even the kids drank weak beer. It was safer than the water. To pass the time, they played board games like chess, backgammon, or Nine Men's Morris. Or they went outside for a massive, chaotic snowball fight. Seriously, medieval snowball fights were legendary and sometimes got out of hand. In some cities, they even built massive snow fortresses and staged mock wars. What about laundry? You couldn't just throw clothes in a dryer. People actually washed clothes less in winter. Like, way less. If they did wash them, the clothes would freeze solid on the clothesline. You could literally break your pants in half if you weren't careful. During the Little Ice Age, European rivers froze so thick that people held festivals on them. They were called frost fairs. People set up shops, pubs, and even ice bowling. Imagine drinking hot beer while standing on top of a frozen River Thames. But winter also brought superstition. Dark nights meant monsters were near. In alpine regions, people dressed up as Krampus to scare away evil spirits. Or they burned a giant Yule log to bring back the sun.
If the log burned out too early, terrible luck for the next year. So they kept watch all night, drinking and singing around the log. It was all about surviving until spring, when the ground finally softened. So next time your room feels a little chilly, remember your ancestors. At least you don't have to sleep next to a cow or skate on horse bones. Subscribe for more crazy history facts, and stay warm out there.